1983 graduate of Westfield High School. Go Rocks. And we live in Westfield now, but we noticed that our client base is changing, and we are seniors now, or considered seniors in the over 50 age range. So becoming an SRES and participating in panels like this really has been beneficial, not only for us, but also for our aging client base as we age. So.
Okay. So Jesse Hillock. This is weird because I can't click your buttons for you, so you know.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jessie Hillock, and I'm the owner of the Memory Compass. We provide in-home outpatient therapy services for individuals and families coping with dementia. We're credentialed with Medicare Part B, so instead of going to an outpatient clinic, we actually take the stress out of traveling to the clinic, and we come directly to you in the functional setting of the home. And we also provide family coaching sessions. Right now, everything's pretty virtual, but we really support the families that feel like they need some additional assistance following getting a diagnosis, and being able to educate them on what to expect and how to adapt to their home, and provide them with resources in the area.
Thank you. Hayley Murray with Comfort Care.
Hi, I'm Hayley Murray. I'm with Comfort Care Home Care. We provide in-home care in individuals' homes, wherever it may be, from skilled nursing facilities to the home they've lived in for 80 years. Anywhere from 1 hour to 24-hour care. We have been around for a little over 10 years. We have roughly 250 caregivers on our roster that we thoroughly train. The majority of them go through the training to become home health aides that we put on the registry. We take Medicaid waiver and traditional Medicaid PA, private pay, long-term care insurance, work comp, all that. So sums it up.
Excellent. Renee Anderson, I see that your name is on here now, so I hope that you're here. You're gonna have to wait. Hang on a second. I think I actually have the ability now to.
I can do it. I got you.
Right.
So sorry I came in late. I was having little technical difficulties, which so hello everyone. Sorry to come late. But I was having trouble for some reason logging in. But so Caring Transitions, we are literally help people with a solution for homes and transitions. So we work with people in when they are trying to downsize or relocate, and we will help them liquidate all of their things that they do not want or that the family doesn't want, and we will help them to pack, sort, organize, declutter. We do relocating in a new home. So we will, like I said, if somebody's moving to a smaller home, we'll help them identify the things that they can take that are going to fit into their new home. We also will help if they're moving into a memory care or assisted living or another facility that's going to help them with their needs. We will help them if, like I said, they're having some cognitive issues. We will go in and take a picture of their current living space so that we can emulate that in the new space, and it makes the transition a lot easier. A lot of times we work with a lot of families that have family members that are out of town. And as a matter of fact, currently I just was working with a man, and he had lost his mom and to the coronavirus actually. And he did not have a way to get over here. He was from LA. And so we literally went in and took care of packing up all of his things from his mom until he could get here, and put them in a storage unit, and literally did everything from letting some family members come over, and there's a few things that they were taking. We turned in all of the equipment for the TV. We did all those things that people can't do or don't want to do, or that make the transition hard because there's just so much stuff coming at you. So we really like to work with making it an easier process and take that stress and load off of the family. So.
Very good. Megan, are you here? I see an M. Is that you?
I am here.
All right, great.
Sorry, I too had technical issues, but I'm here now. So thanks for having me. So I am with Caregiver Homes. We provide a service called Structured Family Caregiving through the Indiana Medicaid Waiver Program. So what is Structured Family Caregiving? This is a program that allows for people to stay in their home if they have an individual living with them who wants to be a paid caregiver. So this person can be a spouse, it can be a daughter, a son, a daughter-in-law, an aunt, uncle, a friend. As long as they live together and they're over the age of 18, they can be a paid caregiver. So what do? So we offer support. We offer education and resources to that family. So we offer a care plan and guidance. We put an app on their phone or tablet called Vela that we communicate with them daily. We provide an RN and a case manager to support that family. So we are actively growing, especially at a time like this. A lot of people are trying to stay home. If they have a loved one that can care for them, we are a great option for those people.
That's outstanding. That's a pretty new program too, isn't it? At least especially with a spouse.
The spouse is new, yeah. So that's as of February of this year. So that's a huge change for us and really allowing a lot of families to come on board. But we have been in Indiana since 2013. And right now we serve over 2,100 families in Indiana.
Excellent. Well, thank you. So let's kind of go on. Now, by the way, for any of you guys that are watching, if you have questions, you can get into the Q&A section here and set up any questions you may have. I will be watching for those, and then we'll make sure those get done. In the meantime, I'll ask some of my own. How's that for a deal? So Renee, how does someone find out how much it's going to cost you to have you come do all those wonderful things you said you do?
We like to offer a free consultation. Usually it's anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half, and we'll walk through and look and see with the things that they have that they want to keep. A lot of times we'll just have them go through and label, and we'll walk through the house and see based on the square footage that they have, the volume that they have, and then we will give them a bunch of options. We'll say, okay, you're here, you want to downsize. This is what you have. We'll send them estimates and saying, okay, well, based on what you have, this is what we think would be the best way for you to go. Sometimes they can do an online auction. They can do an estate sale, or sometimes people just they don't have enough stuff. So we'll just try to sell a few things off, and we'll post it online and have what we call a buyer pickup and have them come and pick it up from the house. So whichever is going to come out financially best for the client. And so we're always looking out on how we can make the most with what they have to get them in transitioning to the place that they want to be, which is going to be the most efficient and economically beneficial to them. And that's a free consultation.
I would say that one of the things I was going to ask, and this question will probably be to every one of you as one of the things to touch on. We're living in a weird world. We're living in a COVID world right now where everybody's businesses are being impacted. How has that impacted you to a degree of how you're operating? How are you doing things to make sure that your clients and your employees are working safely?
Okay, I can answer.
That was for Renee first.
Okay, I'll go ahead with ours because ours is completely been turned around, but people still need to move and they still need to get out of their homes, and they're still wanting to go to some senior communities. We have had a lot, obviously all the estate sales have been put on hold. Obviously all of our workers are wearing masks and gloves if we are going to the home. Well, a lot of times people have changed it we had loads of estate sales lined up all through the past few months. And we obviously, when the quarantine began, we started having a lot of clean outs. Some people were able to put their stuff in storage. Some people didn't want to put it in storage. They just wanted to get rid of it all because they were moving, and they literally said, forget it. We'll just go ahead and donate it and write it off. Other people have held on and said, hey, you know what? There's not a time constraint on us. We're just going to put it off for a little bit. So we've had kind of a turnaround of a lot of things. The problem is that our biggest challenge is, obviously, is just like everybody else, nobody knows what the market's going to be like after we open back up. So we've had a lot of people who are still wanting to go ahead and have their sales, and we're going to start having them once the quarantine is lifted. And then when it does, I've just been I'm always open and honest and making sure that people know, I can't look in the glass, the bubble and say, hey, this is what's going to happen. But I have, but I could have told them 3 months ago probably what was going to happen, but I don't know now. So that's kind of what we're doing with Caring Transitions.
I know that sometimes you can help people right now with storage and stuff too. So
Yes.
for short term, then estate sales later. Let's see, Jill. yours is your business by referral only, and how do they go about getting the referrals? How does that come about with you and be it with Morning Light or with Abby Hunt Bryce Home?
Sure, sure. Yes, we are referral only. Folks call me at my direct line, and we are a 12-bed residence. So one of the first questions is, do we have a room available? And from that process, then there's an application to be completed and an evaluation that I do, and then the approval process. And to make sure, the other piece of this is that the patient will be on hospice services. So we partner with hospice. We provide the home and we provide the support and the care, and then the hospice provides the professional management and the medical management of the resident. And this is of course free of charge. And we get referrals from, really, it can be a referral from a family member. It can be referral from the hospital. It can be referral from a hospice in particular that may have somebody that's living at home that's now in a care situation that they need some additional support. They don't have the financial means to get care provided in the home. They don't have another support person. So anybody can give us a call, and I'm always happy to talk people through and see how we can offer support, and if we cannot, provide other ideas and resources for them as well.
Well, how do people qualify for this?
On our website, we have an application, and one of the components that we're looking at is, again, there's a financial piece. We look at an overall picture of those folks that are around the 200% poverty level. That's only one component, though, of the whole picture, because there's a social component as well. Again, they may not have a caregiver at home. They may be in an unsafe environment. So there's lots of factors that come into play, but we try to keep our home available for those that really have nowhere else to go and no other resources to get that care provided to them.
That's with the Abby Hunt Bryce Home.
Correct.
Now, is Morning Light and separate, or is it all one entity?
Morning Light is our umbrella organization. So
Okay.
the Abby Hunt Bryce Home is under Morning Light, and Morning Light is a nonprofit organization, and we are one of the components of that. We also own the Penwood Place Senior Apartments, and those are apartments for low-income seniors as well. So those two, the Abby Hunt Bryce Home, the Penwood Place Senior Apartments, are under Morning Light, Inc.
Okay, very good. Regina, please explain. I wonder if people really understand what all adult day really is. I think that's something that's kind of hospice and adult day, I think, are a lot of ones that people don't really understand.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So with adult day, we've kind of rebuilt adult day now that we're virtual. So that's been really an interesting new concept. So before becoming virtual, we cared for people that had a need to be in a setting where they had care, where they needed care with meds, where they needed engagement because of isolation. Isolation is almost a number one killer, like cigarettes, just as bad as smoking. So in this setting, our guests didn't just have dementia. They didn't have Alzheimer's. Our guests were living with strokes. They were living with developmental disabilities. They were living with loneliness. They were living with, you name it, all types of diabetes, obesity. So they just had a plethora of diagnoses where they just needed some assistance, and they needed some hands-on. They needed some training. They needed some caregiver assistance. So that, as an adult day, they could no longer care for themselves by themselves in their home by day. So they come in our setting by day. We take care of them. We engage them with activities, loads and loads of activities that are tailored to their cognitive ability, to their interests. We didn't just stay in, so we were not necessarily a locked and closed facility. So our guests were free to come and go in and out. We went on outings. We go on outings. We're still going on outings now. We do virtual outings with our guests. In this
great apples.
Did you see that?
I did. Good.
So right now we're doing remote adult day services, which is really cool. So we're doing a virtual bingo, virtual Pekino. We have virtual Bible study. So we're meeting their needs spiritually as well as we are physically. We're providing music therapy. We're doing art therapy, as well as all of the therapies that we need. Like I said, the social piece, social work piece that they're needing. So we're doing counseling with them as well. I'm going into the homes and sitting and meeting and counseling with those that have lost loved ones. We have had a few deaths in our setting to COVID. Some of our guests have passed, their loved ones have passed. So we have just had to reinvent the wheel a little bit as far as adult day is concerned. We're providing 2 meals a day and taking them home, not just packing them in the morning and for the day. We are running back and forth. We have a first meal and a second meal that we're taking to our guests twice a day. We're still doing our HCC program where we're coordinating that health care. So we're getting them to their doctor's appointments, and we're taking them, we're still treating their wound care, and we're still getting them to their physical therapy appointments, and we're still coordinating their medications and filling their med containers and making sure that they are compliant with their congestive heart failure, weights, and dietary issues and things like that. So adult day has definitely changed from when it first came on the scene, and it's going to continue to evolve, especially now when we go back to life as it used to be. We don't know what it's going to, we don't even know when these doors are going to be able to be open, and we don't know what adult day is going to look like, because, you know, people are going to go back to work probably a whole lot sooner than adult day is going to be opening. So we really don't know what that's going to look like.
Well, I know that when adult day is when we have a normal world, that's an opportunity for caregivers to be able to have a job and their loved ones cared for.
Absolutely.
If anybody that's watching this has not been to see Regina at Independent Adult Day, those places are gorgeous. So they're
and then that's the other thing
I haven't
too.
seen pictures yet, except from the outside.
Oh, well, you need to come on by. So as soon as the world is open. And then that's the other thing too. I think the caregivers will understand what the respite piece is all about too, because after having been in the home with their loved ones this last 5 or 6 weeks, and having to care for their loved ones solely, and we've done some attendant care and we've been in the home, but for the most part, mom, dad, or their loved one has been there with them. And yes, we've stepped in, but not to the full extent, you know, because people are really afraid of COVID, and they've just kind of said, we don't even want attendant care. We don't want a toothpick in our home that we did not manufacture ourselves because of the fear. And so when the world opens back up and they get a chance for that respite care, that's when we will become valuable to them again, and they will begin to see. And then for those who have, you know, I lost my mom to COVID 3 weeks ago. And so for those who are unfortunate and you know, who didn't make it through COVID, then that's when you'll understand the difference between hospice care and adult day. You'll understand what it's like to make those transitions and understand who we are and what we have to offer.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about your mom. I knew that
Yeah.
you lost, so I didn't know it was to COVID, but
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter which, they're always.
Yeah. Well, she'd been in long-term care and she'd been struggling. So, yeah, but that's the rascal that
Well,
came
thank you.
down.
I tell you what, I was really curious because I had no idea how you guys were doing. It sounds like you just basically doubled your hours. So it's kind of like, anyway. So,
Hey, Jim.
Vicky,
Sorry, Jim.
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to mention, this is Megan with Caregiver Homes. A lot of people don't know that if they have structured family caregiving as part of the Medicaid waiver, they can use adult day.
Yes.
And they can use hospice at the same time.
Yes.
So, it's a program that we see that the state has seen that those caregivers need respite. So it's a beautiful partnership between our companies and the caregivers can, those loved ones can go to adult day. And then also if, they need those hospice services, they can also be part of structured family caregiving and have hospice in the home as well. So it's a program that kind of can work with both, companies.
That's awesome. Vicky, would you come in? Because I'll tell you what, I've been waiting to get you on a panel for a long time to pick your brain. So I would love to have you just kind of tell me, you kind of run the memory care thing for the whole thing. I want to hear what you have to say with what you guys are doing, some of the different things that are cutting edge right now.
We, Jim, those are great question. We have a lot of cutting edge things. Nutrition and hydration are extremely important with those individuals who have Alzheimer's or like forms of dementia, mainly because the brain stops triggering to the body that you're hungry and thirsty. So we have some programs that are in place to make sure that we are offering opportunity for hydration throughout the day. And our meal service program is designed where it really basically helps to increase the appetite. Very similar to what our fast food restaurants do with using red in their logos. We serve our meals on a cayenne red plateware so that it stands out visually to those individuals. A lot of times depth perception changes. When you have mashed potatoes on a white plate or even a piece of fish on a white plate, it kind of blends in, and it's hard for our aging residents to really be able to identify those items on their plates. So by having a contrasting color, it helps it stand out. But also studies show that red, that cayenne red, really helps to increase the appetite. So if you think about yourself, we have a tendency to swing into McDonald's when we see that red sign with the yellow arches, or Chick-fil-A or Arby's. If you notice as you drive around, a majority of our restaurants have red in their logo system. Applebee's is another one. And when you go to a Mexican restaurant, they use the Fiesta ware, which entices you to eat more, and you fill up on your chips before your meal gets there. So the same concept is true for helping our residents have good nutritional intake. We also have a program specifically designed from an activity level that kind of mirrors your natural energy patterns. So as we rise in the morning, we're typically more vibrant. We have a lot more energy. So that's when we focus more on our high energy programming. And then usually after lunch, that's when most of us are ready for a nap. And so then we lower down some of our activity program and then boost it up again around 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, when we typically see that sundowning begin to happen, with residents becoming restless and having energy that they don't know what to do with, and managing those types of incidents from that component. We use a lot of aromatherapy. We use weighted blankets for folks who have anxiety or maybe pace a lot. It helps them to sit and stay calm. It's very much like a thunder jacket for a pet that you may have. It just kind of embraces them and gives them a big warm hug without having to have somebody embrace them. And so it does calm them down. We use robotic pets, which are fantastic. They're very interactive. They purr, they wash their face, they roll over on their back. And our residents really have that opportunity to nurture them and feel as if they're taking care of something. And that adds a little extra importance to them. We have outdoor areas where they can go outside, get some sunshine on their face, plant some plants in the garden, and again, gives them something to nurture and focus on. And a lot of times those residents will say, no, that's my job. Your job is to do this. And they task themselves out for specific tasks within the community as their day goes through. So we have a lot going on, a lot of very unique things. And again, everything is research-based. Melanie Perry is our memory care director, and she's designed all of our programs and does just a phenomenal job with educating our teams on how to incorporate them. I think our most recent innovation that we're utilizing now is music, and we have music going on throughout the day and music incorporated in a lot of things that we do. We've also partnered with Perfect Harmony in Carmel and have a great program going on with Perfect Harmony where we are able to bring our residents to the Palladium to participate in some of their music programs there as well.
When families are coming to you, they're brand new to this world that they're walking into your world that you're going to help guide them through. What are some of the things that you would want them to know before they made that first call and they're scared to death?
I would want them to know that we're here to walk them through the whole process. You know, when it comes time to place an individual in a skilled nursing facility or even an assisted living setting for that matter, you know, it is a scary thought because you may have those feelings of guilt. I told my mom I would never put her in a nursing facility. And now you're faced with having to move forward and do that for quality of life purposes. I think the other thing that's really important when it comes down to making that decision is evaluate the current situation at home and realize that many times our individuals with Alzheimer's and like forms of dementia are very isolated in their environment at home. And placing them in a social setting such as an adult day, assisted living, or even long-term care, it provides them with that added socialization that they're missing. We've had families say many times, well, mom just sits and watches TV. Well, because she's starving for some interaction of some sort. And when they do end up moving into a community of ours, you just see folks come to life. And we have so many testimonials where family members have said, you know, it's been so wonderful to be a daughter again and not be a caregiver. It's so nice to have a visit with mom and not have to worry about what else do I have to do before I leave to go take Jimmy to baseball practice. That's what we're here for. We're here to take that off of your plate and allow you to have a really good interaction with your mom or dad, brother, sister, cousin, whoever it is that you're providing care for.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Jamie, would you like to come up? And one of the things I'd like from his elder law world, I stumbled into it late after I dealt with my parents, my in-laws, and then with my uncles. The first time someone said, go see an elder law attorney, I didn't even know what they did. And oh my God, why didn't I see them before? You know, so one thing, there are timelines that people for programs people need to be aware of. What do they need to do to worry about that? How do you deal without disrupting the lives of the individuals before you need it? And I'm throwing a lot of questions at you at once.
Yeah.
Additionally, what if you screw up like everyone in my family does? We basically put everything off until crisis, okay, and then deal with it. What happens when you do that, and what can you still do is what it comes down to. I gave you a lot. In other words, just come and tell what elder law is, I guess.
Sure. Well, I say this a lot, but I would say about 90% of the people who are doing true elder law, benefit planning, that kind of thing, are crisis planners. I would love for that to be a lower number and have more people coming to see me, you know, a few years ahead of time. But that's just not the reality of the situation. People have so much trouble making decisions in this area. I think we probably all see that in our own businesses and our own industries. I have a family member right now we're having trouble making those decisions and taking those next steps for. So it's sort of natural for people to fall more into that crisis mode. And, you know, there'll be people in my office, families that'll come in and you know, and I'll say, I'm going to tell you the truth. Something's going to happen, and you're going to have to make those decisions. And a lot of times for a lot of people, it takes that. It takes some kind of event. We want to keep everyone safe and healthy. But it's just, you know, we don't want to plan for this kind of stuff sometimes, and it's a hard thing to do. But with, you know, there's a lot more I can do for people who plan in advance. You know, I mentioned 3 and 5 years. We think 3 years ahead for VA benefits, 5 years ahead for Medicaid benefits. But even in a crisis, there's a lot more we can do for people than most people realize. So I don't think it's ever too late to make that phone call or start that planning. But, you know, I wish people were in the earlier time categories, I guess.
Well, you know, I was just having this conversation with my mom last night, and I didn't know, you know, we were under the myths that most people are, that, you know, you have to be poor to have Medicaid. You have to, you know, that you have to basically get rid of all your assets first. And I was sitting there, you know, mom was sitting on 50 acres between, mom and dad were on 50 acres between Noblesville, Carmel, and Westfield with, you know, so it was a nice piece of dirt. But they were cash poor, but land rich. We had no idea that we could have, you know, she was a full-time caregiver for my dad. She could have, well, you know, it was new, so they couldn't have done it then, but they could have hooked up with Megan and got that worked out. And then they could have been with you, and you could have transferred all the assets to mom, and all these things could happen. We had no idea. We thought you had to burn through all your assets, you know? So people, I think a lot of people do that because they don't know that there's people like you that can solve these problems.
Yeah, especially when people are married. The programs really protect spouses, and they want the spouses to keep assets. You know, you mentioned transferring the land to mom. A lot of times we can put things in the name of a spouse, and that alone solves our problem and helps them obtain benefits. And it's going to help them tap into more resources while they're still home, and so that they can continue to live on that farm or wherever that is. And to me, you know, the earlier that people can tap into those, it helps us keep them in place and keep them home or help them reach those goals. You know, there is definitely an ethical question in this type of planning. You know, should someone who has a multi-million-dollar farm be doing planning for these types of benefits? That's a whole big discussion we could have, and something that I hope people in my industry are having with their clients. But for the average person, and that's who most of my clients are, you know, there are goals beyond, you know, leaving an inheritance that are very important and can help them stretch what they have and have more quality of life.
Excellent.
Real quick question. So what would you say would the age range be that you think would be ideal for people coming in and seeing an elder law attorney?
Well, health plays a factor in that. Obviously, if someone is disabled, then you know, any age can be important.
I guess I'm thinking
definitely
for the pre-planning, because there's always so much you don't know that's going to happen. So at least if you go in and get at least an education on it, you'd know what was ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there are some basic documents that I think everybody should have. You know, we can talk about powers of attorney and healthcare documents, and any age, those are important. When we start talking about really planning for benefits, assuming, you know, there's no underlying health issues at a young age, gosh, it's I would say if you're trying to plan for the VA benefit and Medicaid and doing a 3 or 5 year plan, you have to be at a point where you are comfortable giving up a little bit of control. And that is probably the biggest hurdle, and probably why more people don't plan in advance. So you have to be able to, you know, have that person in your life that you trust to kind of take the reins a little bit and have a little bit more control. I guess that's not really answering your question, because I think it's really individual to different people. I have people who come in their 50s and they're begging to do the planning, and I'm telling them, you're probably too young to be talking about this. And then, you know, there are people in their 70s or 80s that aren't ready. So it's really, you know, it has to be something you're comfortable with. And I would say the control aspect of it is the biggest challenge.
Excellent. Jesse Hillock, would you please come in and please explain your new company to me? I was so excited when I found out what you do, because I don't think most people have any idea that such a place. I think you are one of one in Indiana that does this.
Right now, yes. Yes, I am. So the Memory Compass, it was born really from my background. I'm a speech language pathologist. That's my background. And I worked in skilled nursing facilities, assisted living facilities, memory care. And whenever somebody has a cognitive decline, you would get referred to a speech therapist. And nobody ever understands why in the world my loved one is speaking just fine. But we also work on cognitive communication. And our area of specialty is really that cognitive breakdown in sequencing, following directions, maybe not able to follow the directions of taking your medications the same way, managing your finances the same way. And because I worked in the skilled nursing setting, I wasn't seeing these individuals until they were already in that crisis mode. And I thought, I want to be able to reach people before they get to the crisis mode. And a common thread was, well, we see our neurologist every 6 months, and, we don't really know what to do in the in-between. We don't really have a lot of education and support. So I decided that I wanted to start this in-home outpatient therapy service where, I go into your loved one's home and I do a home assessment and I do a cognitive assessment. I see where they are cognitively. We talk with the family about, are they not taking their medications on time? Are they having some resistance into bathing or dressing? Are they having that conversation of, when do I tell my loved one we need to have more care in the home? When do I tell my loved one you can't drive anymore? You shouldn't drive anymore. So we hit on all of those things, and our services are covered through Medicare Part B. So we also have occupational therapy services, the cognitive speech services, also swallowing, which with dementia, your swallowing can decline as the disease progresses. And so really, I feel like we enhance the care of all the other presenters here today, because we know when you should have that increased assistance and how to address that with your loved one. We know when it's time to go into a skilled nursing facility and how to address that with your loved one, or when maybe your loved one could benefit from having adult day services. And then also even talking to financial, elder law, having that support as well. So we're just kind of a new concept here, but we're that eyes and the ears and support in the home after that neurology appointment.
Are you private pay? Are you Medicaid, Medicare? What?
Yeah, so we're Medicare Part B. So that's the same as an outpatient doctor's visit. So when you have an outpatient doctor's visit and you're 65 and older, it's covered by Medicare Part B. You have your secondary insurance. So 80% is typically covered, and then that 20% is covered either by your secondary insurance or, that could be a copay that a family has to pay. So the therapy component is Medicare. And then we also do family coaching, and that's geared more towards that sandwich generation. So if you're not familiar with that term, that is, families who maybe they're still working themselves. They also have their children living with them at home. And then now they're having to in some way manage their parents' care or their loved ones' care. And so the families that we worked in with that, it's been, their loved one has had a diagnosis and they don't know where to go. The neurology report, they don't really understand. So we can break it down in layman's terms. We can help them with figuring out, do they want their loved one to move in with them? How do we adapt their home safely? Or maybe should they go into, assisted living, go into long-term care? How do we have those difficult conversations, with their parents? So that is a private pay basis.
How do you have, how many workers do you have in your company right now? Or is it just?
No, it's myself.
Just asking because my in-laws could completely use you right now.
Yeah, so it's myself and an occupational therapist. Okay. So our hope is to grow, but so we can help people. You do not have to have a referral from your doctor if you want therapy services, but I will be in communication with your doctor. Are
you right now currently doing things even with the quarantine, or are you?
So I'm I'm doing telehealth visits. Right now for Medicare patients, that has to be on a private pay basis because unfortunately, under the CARES Act, it wasn't written with the correct coding system for us to be able to bill Medicare. So the families that I'm working with are currently under private pay, and we're hoping that we just got some notice today that they're hoping to cover telehealth, speech, occupational, and physical therapy services for Medicare beneficiaries. It's just taking a while.
Yeah, my in-laws were, like I said, they did all the right things. So they have the long-term care because they spoke with an elder law at the right time. so they have all that stuff in place, and I'm definitely going to have to talk to you. So thank you.
Well, thanks very much. Dave Holder. I wish, like I said, when I was finding a place for my in-laws and my parents and then my uncle, I would have loved to have known you. But so please come on and help explain how you can make people's lives not so crazy.
Yeah, so I kind of, work with families. If you've got a loved one, a parent, or anyone that maybe is looking at what are the senior living options there. And that could be someone that's just tired of being in the home, a very active 70-year-old who is interested in maybe what an independent living looks like, or maybe a CCRC and wants to know what options are out there. I work with them to understand those options. And you can think of me as a little bit as like a realtor. You could be, from very simply to location and amenities to where we can drill down a little bit more to care levels that you're looking for. What are your long-term goals? Of course, that financial piece, we'll look at that as well. The other end of the spectrum, kind of like what Vicki talked a little bit about, is memory care, where I'll work with the families to understand, where they're at in the progression of that disease. I don't diagnose anything by any stretch, but let them understand what communities have to offer. Some have a little higher functioning level in their memory care, some are a little lower level functioning, and just understand all of those options. I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but my service is completely no charge. So when it comes to being proactive, that you shouldn't wait until you're in crisis mode. I'm more than happy to meet with you multiple times as you plan for this and understand all of your options for this. So yeah, I do that whole gamut. Does that help, Jim?
That's very helpful. I will tell you one of the things that I know myself when we were dealing with this as a family. You go and you pop into these assisted living places, and if you're not now. Those of us that are in the panel here, we spend a lot of our time in these places. And now we have a better understanding. When you're brand new and you go in, you don't even know what questions to ask.
No.
It's pretty, or it's not pretty, or is it close by, or, how do you basically help people understand why this place, I know you say you usually break it down to like 3 places for them to look at, go through a whole bunch and then find these are the ones that fit best. How do you explain that to help people understand so it's not absolute panic mode and just throwing a dart?
It's a lot of that early on is just kind of drilling down what it is they're looking for, what their long-term goals are. We do look at the state surveys and have that conversation to pull back that data. But, in fact, I told somebody today, I'm here to be either that literal or figurative, empathetic hug that I'm going to give you that we got the support, but I also want to poke you with a stick. A real quick story that I had was a lady who had just been telling me on and on and on as we toured about how charismatic her dad was and how he made friends and, had this great personality about him. And as we had left this one community, she said, well, I really want to go to A, but since they're full, I'm going to take him to B, but I feel kind of weird about that. And I said, wait, hold on. Forgive me for saying this, but all you've talked about for the last week is how your dad makes friends and everybody likes him. You're going to put him in a community you're not happy with, and then 6 weeks or 6 months from now, move him into a community that you like better, and you're going to pull your dad out of that environment? Really? And she's like, oh my God, I never thought of that. Well, what do we do? And I said, we got to keep looking, we got to go find one that's going to be a good fit for your dad. So I want to provide that guidance via the advisor for them.
Well, that's awesome. I really appreciate, like I said, truly, I wish I'd known you a long time ago. But anyway, Judy Wackey, you're an SRES, Senior Real Estate Specialist. What does that mean? And what do you do to help people through that process? Since I'm going from one realtor to another, more or less, you know. So, Judy, you there?
I'm here. I was
Okay.
trying to unmute myself.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of what we do, kind of what Dave described, but on the earlier side of that, a lot of times when we're working with clients who are getting ready to go into assisted living or something of that nature, we're coming in right before they go in. They've made the decision they're going to go in, and we just need to get the home sold. So they're looking to us for resources on finding, what do I do with my stuff? How do I make repairs, those types of things. So we try to connect our clients with those resources. Many people on this panel, and these panels have been great because I've learned so much about other things that are available out there that now I can share with my clients that we didn't know existed before, like Dave services and caring transition services. So it really gives us the knowledge base to help our over 50 clients make that lifestyle change, whether it's retiring or moving to Florida, which a lot of our friends have started doing, or moving into assisted living. And sometimes it's not a happy occasion. Sometimes it's a difficult situation where we're working with their family members. So we just try to work together with them as a team, provide them resources, be their advisor in many situations, and then just help them get through that process and get the home sold or help them buy their next home.
Well, we got a question here I'm going to ask in a second, but I got one more question for you. Are you running into when you're running into homes that someone's lived in for 50 years, or what have you, and they're down, now it's time they're moving. A lot of these homes haven't been updated in 49 years. What are you doing from a guidance standpoint? Are you basically showing them how to sell them retail? Are you talking about, do you have investors that what kind of thing, how do you basically approach that?
Well, every situation is different. So each transition is unique. So some situations, the client wants to make those repairs and do those updates, and they have the financial ability to do that, and they want to get the best value. So in those situations, yeah, we may find ourselves helping them get resources to do the updates and get the home into top condition, so that they get the best price in that marketplace. But sometimes that's not the case. So sometimes it's a matter of selling it either as is or with some repairs. But the demand right now is so high for housing that you could go either way at this point in time. And we do have investors that purchase homes that need repairs or need updates. And a lot of investors are doing those and turning them over, reselling them, or also turning them into rentals because the rental market is in high demand as well.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
It does. Julie Jones asked a question. She goes, are senior facilities required to accommodate special dietary needs like gluten-free, etc.? I think I'm going to throw that towards Dave and Vicki. I think you guys are more in those worlds.
Yeah, Vicki, I don't think so. They're not required. As far as the assisted living, I believe the license or state just says you have to provide 3 meals a day. Am I correct on that?
So as far as the regulatory standpoint, I am not positive on a regulatory standpoint. Part of me wants to say, and Jesse may even be able to answer this as well, a lot of communities will accommodate special diets such as a low sodium, kosher diets, vegan diets. We realize there's a lot of celiac disease out there, and gluten-free is very, very important to make sure that those individuals get that. But I don't believe they're required to. It's just finding the right community that will be willing to and is able to provide that special diet. The majority of them will try everything they can to accommodate that. But it's just finding finding the right building that will. Jesse, is that about right?
Yeah, so in my experience, yeah, it's not actually required, but a lot of times they'll have family, your loved one will be able to fill out their menu for the day, but a lot of times they'll have family assist with maybe filling it out for a whole month and choosing options that might be, of course, gluten-free options that are already gluten-free options on the menu. So they want to make sure that family can check over it as well. And then sometimes it might be that they would recommend that a family would have that special dietary item brought in, and then they prepare that item. The facility prepare the item. So every facility is really going to be different.
Yeah, we experienced that as well in some of our communities, and some of the menus are even indicated with certain symbols that these meet the requirements of a certain dietary restriction.
Mhm.
And then the other thing I was going to mention is having some of those meals brought in from family members and having our team to reheat that. But just remember, every company is different. They all have their own policies and procedures. So, and sometimes that's even building specific. So just do your homework when you're out there shopping for the right location and ask the right questions when it comes down to dietary restrictions to make sure that they're going to be able to meet your needs.
I remember my uncle was in a situation that for a period of time he had to have nothing but pureed food because he couldn't swallow. He had a thyroid growth. And the community that he was in at that particular time could not accommodate it. So he would have to take his meals back to his room and puree it, whatever. Fortunately, Jesse, he got with a speech pathologist, a speech therapist, which I couldn't understand what that had to do with that. But oh my God, he wants to steak, whatever. He didn't have no big deal anymore. So you guys are magic. I had no idea what you guys do. But anyway. So excellent. I hope that answered your question, Julie. So Megan, would you like to come up and talk to us a little bit about what you're doing? I am so fascinated with this new service that can be done. So
Yeah, so we, like everyone else, had to make some adjustments with COVID and some changes. We worked fast with the Department of Aging, and we figured out, since we're already in the home with our app called Bella, we have communication daily with our families. We were able to move those visits virtually. So we're doing everything over the telephone now. But our care has not changed. I mean, we're still advising, we're still providing education, we're still communicating with our care team, their doctors. We have relationships with our families that, if, let's say, for example, right now, they really don't want to take their loved one in to see the doctor. They have questions though. Let's say their loved one fell and has a cut on their arm. They can send us a picture in our HIPAA secured app, send that over. The nurse will look at that and can advise and say, you know what? You can get that treated locally. You can go to your primary care physician. You can stay out of the ER right now. We're doing things like that just to help keep care in the home and help avoid unnecessary ER visits and trips, really to help protect our people and keep them safe.
one thing I was going to ask is you've got a spouse that's a caregiver, you've got a son or a daughter that's a caregiver, or a niece or what have you. How do they go about working to get with you to where you can then provide the back support system and the financial support system? How do they get there?
Yeah, so absolutely. So if we receive a referral from the AAA of a family that's interested in structured family caregiving, we reach out to that family. One, they have to be living together. Two, we have to make sure that that caregiver is over the age of 18. We do have to do a background check. There's some credentialing items that we have to do. Through our assessment, we make sure that we feel like that caregiver is able to provide that proper care. The things that can't be done would be skilled nursing items. So if the level of care was that high, it couldn't be done in the home. They would still need to have an attendant come in. But as long as the care is assisting with the activities of daily living, like bathing, transportation, meal prep, etc., and they have that loved one that's willing to take that on, they'll get paid a twice a month and non-taxable stipend. So it's a great program. It's really helping a lot of families. I mean, you think about a lot of people you already know, they might have their mother already living with them, and they don't even know this program exists. So we're really just trying to get the word out there and just help people understand that a lot of times, a lot of people are already doing this. And if their parents or loved ones can qualify for Medicaid, then they can be part of this program.
How do you know? Do they just call you up and then you set them up, or do they have to go through a process? Is it?
So they will. So they can call us and we can help direct them and that what needs to be done. But the process would be to contact that, SACOA or local AAA that they have. They need to have the waiver. So we work with people on the age and disabled waiver, the CIH waiver, or the PACE program. And then they also need to qualify for full Medicaid. So once they have those items in place, they can get our service started. Excellent.
Thank you. Julie had a follow-up question on her first question. She goes, what recourse does our family have if they said, I assume that would be the marketing person that they were signing in with to join the community, said that they would do that and then now they won't do it. I'm going to throw that back out to all y'all.
I would highly suggest that you reach out to the administrator of the community and just request a care conference that you guys can talk openly. That care conference should have the administrator or director of nurses. It should have your culinary manager or nutritionist available for that. And, any other department managers that would benefit from the conversation, but just to make sure that you're all on the same pages. And if for some reason the community should indicate that they're not able to accommodate that particular diet, then, really your only recourse then would be to identify another community that would be able to and make that change and relocate to a new community. But you need to really start with trying to rectify it within the building. It could be that the administrator or the culinary manager is not even aware that was part of the deal as far as moving into the community, was that type of diet would be provided. Same would be true in an assisted living setting. Make sure that you have the general manager and the culinary manager involved. They're going to be the ones to rectify it for you.
Julie, if you have more follow-ups, just answer again. So thank you. So Hayley, last but not least, Hayley Murray with Comfort Care, would you please explain? I bet you guys are like insane right now because a lot of people can't get into assisted living right now. So I would imagine people are leaning heavily on you.
Yeah, it's been kind of an interesting time. We've had a lot of clients go on hold because they now have family members home with them because they're working from home. But then we've also gotten a lot of calls from people needing to discharge and not wanting to go into a facility right now, or the facilities aren't accepting new patients. And we've also gotten a lot of calls for COVID positives. They're having a hard time finding places to go with them. So initially we weren't really accepting many of them because the PPE was so hard to come by, and we wanted to make sure that all of our employees were properly protected before we sent them into someone's home that was positive. But we're decked out in full gear now. So we do have a few that we are seeing and they are recovering. So it's always good to hear there are recoveries out there. So it's kind of been a crazy time. And I will say our staff has been great. Like the majority of our aides are still wanting to go into people's homes and help out, and they know that they're needed, or else, they do have to go to a facility. And a lot of our clients, that's not where they want to go right now. They may have to down the road, but right now they still want to be at home. So they're, the aides want to be there to help them stay where they are.
So now for you, there's one of the things that I like when I went through the dementia friends class, one of the things that I learned in that class was that 67% of caregivers that are full-time caregivers for a family member actually pass away before the person they're caring for because of all the load and the stress that they carry on, which is why we need Regina's and we need all these people. And Hayley, you guys are completely invaluable in helping these people actually be able to function and work as a family member rather than just a just a full-time caregiver, right?
Yeah, that's something whenever I meet or talk with families, I know that it's always scary to have someone come into your home for the first time, but it's always, especially when it's a spouse that's older as well, their bodies are not cut out to, 70-year-olds aren't cut out to be caregivers for the most part. Some may be in incredible shape, but for the most part, you got to take care of yourself too, or else you're going to end up in a rehab center. And we see that a lot, to where we get a call last minute because the healthy spouse is now in the hospital with pneumonia or something not good, and they need someone for dad who has dementia and can't be left home alone. So I always stress that importance. Like, even if it's for 3 hours a week to start out with, go play cards with your friends or go to your Bible study. Like, just get used to having someone come in and help out. And people are having kids later in life, so we do see a lot of that sandwich generation where they're like, I want to be with my kids, but I want to be there for mom and dad, and I'm just, working. They're just stressed beyond max. And I'm like, that's not a healthy way to live. Like, do something for yourself every once in a while too.
This is, you run into, I had a friend that was dealing with his mom with Alzheimer's and stuff, and he was full-time caregiver. That's all he did. You could actually see his cognitive ability going down because he was living in that loop conversation all the time, and then he was having a hard time carrying on a conversation, so
Yeah.
or doing when he was trying to do tasks, he would just kind of, because he was probably worn out and on top of everything else.
And that's something, there's people that are trained to do this. Like, I know that, Jesse and Vicki, you guys see it a lot too with Alzheimer's and dementia. There's a special way to deal with them. And that's something, that families, it makes me so sad. They're making the situation 10 times worse because they don't have the skills to deal with it. So, we have our Dementia-Wise program. We're really focused on training the aides so that they can help the family too. But it's just sometimes making them understand that, like, in a nice way, like, you may be part of the problem with mom's behavior right now, but it's not always an easy conversation.
I heard a caregiver one time explain something to me that I just thought made so much sense. She was saying that, maybe when I'm in your home, she goes, maybe I'm fixing dinner while you're, then I'm sitting you down to dinner and you're both eating dinner while I make up the bed, and you guys can actually have a dinner as a couple.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, well, that's a great idea. I don't think people think of what I don't think they think they're giving up control. They're not. They're actually gaining back control.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming. We did pretty good. We're pretty much on time here with a big audio, a big team of people here today. So, anybody else have questions? And somebody that's watching have questions? Anybody within the panel have questions? I guess not. So, thanks again to Brittany Super and to Lisa Bott for with the Westfield Library for inviting us today to do this. Again, check with the library website, www.tl.lib.us, for information on upcoming, well, I guess when they go live again and go open and all that kind of stuff, and what kind of different events they have coming up. Again, we are going to be doing an event, hopefully, actually live and in person, sitting in chairs, July 23rd and then October 19th at the Westfield Library. So thanks a lot for attending. The video will be available on lifescopilot.com and also both of Life Copilot's Facebook page and also the Caring Transition Indy North page. And I'll make sure all y'all get a copy of an edited one without all the beginning part of it. And so you can also see upcoming events like this at lifescopilot.com. So and the next one is 5/14 at noon, and it's going to be specializing on memory care. I think Vic, I think you and Jesse both are on this one, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm excited about that. It's going to be specializing on memory care and what all that entails. So looking forward to it. And wait a minute, I got an open question here. Let me see here real quick. We got a recorded version. Okay. Okay. Yes, we will get that to you, Julie. So yes. All right. So guys, thank you very much. And we're pretty much on time. I'm getting out of here. See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.